Hi guys, my name is Jane. I want to tell you a story about how I started selling ice in Africa, and it turned out to be the most successful business plan because it worked so well. Anyways, how it turned out, I'll tell you now. But first, I'll explain how I got to Africa in the first place. My father is the captain of a ship named Jane. For many years, he has been engaged in the supply of food to Africa, transports of it across the Atlantic Ocean. My mother and I are already used to the fact that he is not at home for most of the year. So one day, when Dad came back from his last trip, he looked upset, said that the supplies were reduced, his salary was less, and every year the ship was wearing out more and more. All the money goes to repair it. I asked him why he doesn't take on extra income. After all, Dad knew what goods were necessary there, and what if he doesn't deliver some shortage?
Yes, there is absolutely everything that the people need. Delivering something new or unfamiliar is too risky. They may not like it, and then I'll burn out.
But it's not just settled Africans who live there. There are also foreigners who've lived there for many years. I think that they would buy what they miss.
Like what?
Well, you think about it. I don't know the whole list of your supplies.
Okay, thank you, daughter.
When will you take me there with you?
Jane, I told you, you're too young. Sailing for so long is unpredictable. I can't take that risk. What if something happens to you?
What if it doesn't?
What are you two talking about? Jane is asking to go on a trip again, but it's just not possible.
I really wanted to go with him, especially since it was summer vacation, but my dad didn't agree. Then I decided to come up with a plan. The day before Dad left, I packed my things in a backpack, left a note for Mom on the table, and went to bed. Then in the morning, we drove my father to the port to see him off. We said goodbye to him. I put the note in my mother's pocket, and while my parents were distracted, I jumped onto the boat. I ran to the food truck, where there were huge refrigerated containers, and hid between them. The boat started almost immediately. I didn't know what was going on there or on the street with my mother, but I was already where I wanted to be. After 2 hours of sailing, motion sickness began. I felt terribly nauseous. I wanted to wash and drink water. I tried to find something in the refrigerator, but none of it opened easily. Like at home, I barely managed to open one and it toppled over and fell. A lot of ice fell out just in a bunch, along with food. I grabbed a bottle of soda and sat down to drink it. It turned out that I was too noisy. Suddenly, I heard footsteps. Someone had come into my compartment, and I was already caught where I was hiding. One of the workers was in shock. He asked where I was from and who I was, so I explained everything. He immediately took me upstairs to my father. Dad was also in shock, but there was no turning back. At first, he scolded me a lot, but after he took me to his cabin, where just one bed was free, I was fed and fell asleep. To be honest, the trip was not cool. We sailed for about 20 days, but on the sea, there is no internet and communication, so it's very difficult. My father had special equipment, but I was not allowed to use it. Every day was similar to the previous one. As soon as you go out for a breath of fresh air, you look around, and there's only water everywhere. And yeah, it is beautiful, but after a while, it gets boring. I don't know how my father has worked like this for so many years. Along the way, we met other ships. I like to look at them and wave my hand. And finally, we arrived. And it was amazing. Africa delighted me with its beauty, nature, and atmosphere. When we were already in the car getting to the meeting place with the right people in cars with no roof, it was breathtaking. While my dad was taking care of things, I was walking around the area. I met Africans. They were looking at me and I was looking at them. There were many rich tourists, and they all greeted me very cordially. I heard one of the tourists sitting there drinking alcohol and being so dreamy.
It's all so lovely here. I just wish there was ice for my drink,
he said, laughing. Daddy's employees started unloading the food containers, and I saw that they were dumping ice in the same place. Daddy, why are you throwing out the ice?
We don't need it anymore. Also, it makes us overweight, and we don't need it. The lighter the ship, the faster it sails.
But what if I find a use for it?
What use? I can't imagine anything.
Let's do it this way. I'll find where and how we can use it, but you have to give me $200 for the idea.
What? Are you trying to rob me, daughter?
It will motivate me.
Okay, if you find a decent use for it, then I will. If not, don't ask for $200 pocket money anytime soon.
Deal. I took the ice out of one of the refrigerators, carefully wrapped it in bags, then took a special thermal backpack and put all of it in it. And I started walking around the area where the tourists were resting. I wrote on the sign, "Ice," in huge letters and put it around my neck, wore a cap and goggles, and walked along the road. The first person to come up to me was the man who was drinking. He introduced himself to me, complimented me on the idea and the initiative when he heard about my adventure, and then he gave me a whole $100 for all of my ice. I sold it all in a couple of minutes. I ran back to the coolers, picked up more ice, and started walking around again. The demand was just crazy. Tourists were calling and calling me. I was selling it for $10, then $6, depending on how much they were buying. And after a couple of hours, there was no ice left, and my feet were hurting. But I had made as much as $500, and my dad had to pay me $200 more. When my father heard about my business, he was very surprised and praised me. "This is how I've decided to earn money." My dad said that he would see if he could take me on or not. While we were there for a couple of days, I asked my dad for help and we froze ice together for my business. The next day, I sold it all. I already had a decent amount of money saved up, and on the fourth day, my dad and I decided to take a break, to rest. I went out to dinner with him and we watched a cool fire show. It was spectacular. In the evening, when we went back to our ship, I heard a noise coming from the basement. As soon as I went in there, I was shocked. Someone had turned all our reefers over. "Oh no, it can't be," I said to myself and ran to my dad. I told him everything. From the words of eyewitnesses, someone had stepped by our ship while we were gone, and it looked like they were teenagers.
It looks like your business was competition to someone else's,
my father said. I really didn't want to give up on my business, so my dad's employees picked up all the refrigerators, and well, luckily, none of them were broken. And the next day, I went out to sell ice again. Only now I was looking if anyone was watching me. It turned out that they were. They were the local teenagers. They saw how well I was earning and taking money from their potential customers, and they became jealous. They tried to scare me, but I told them that I was selling and would continue to sell ice. Then they took my backpack, my sign, and the money out of my bag. I was screaming so hard, chasing them, that my heart almost popped out. "Stop! It's mine!"
"It's not yours, it's ours. Get out of here."
"Give me back my bag and my money." But they didn't answer. They ran away and didn't even turn around. I ran to my father in tears and accidentally bumped into someone. He asked me why I was crying and what had happened. Then he took my hand and led me somewhere. It looked like he was some VIP local man. The man explained that he worked for the police in Europe, witnessed my accident, and if they didn't want the scandal to escalate to a new level, let them find those offenders and make them give me all the stolen money back. 30 minutes later, my things and money were returned. I thanked him, and he patted me on the shoulder and said,
"You did good. Keep it up. I love it when kids do something useful. If you're ever in my town, stop by and visit," he said. That was very nice of him. From then on, no one else touched me or Dad's ship. I quietly made and sold ice every day while Dad went about his business. When we got home, Mom almost lost her mind and scolded me, but then she forgave me. My father didn't want to take me on his next trip, saying it was way too dangerous, but when he heard how much I earned on frozen water, he agreed at once. So I'm planning to go with my father to earn money again before school starts. Moreover,
I'll have something to tell my friends about my vacation. Would you take such a risk as I did? What have you sold and how? Tell me about it in the comments. I will read everything. Also, tell me guys, did you like my story? Write your opinion about it in the comments below the video. Don't forget to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.